The Zarkan Empire had conquered many planets. They believed Earth would be the easiest one yet. Their warships, massive and dark, floated above Earth's blue sky, blocking the sun. From space, the planet looked small and weak. The aliens had studied Earth for a long time. No planetary shields, no advanced space fleets, no powerful weapons that could threaten them, just scattered armies and primitive technology. Commander Xeltor of the Zarkan Empire stood inside his command ship, staring at the planet below. His red eyes glowed in the dim light. He had led many invasions before. Each time, the result was the same: total victory. He turned to his officers. "This planet is unprepared," he said. "Earth has no chance against us." The officers nodded. They had crushed dozens of civilizations. Earth would be just another trophy for the Empire. "Begin the invasion," Xeltor ordered. The first wave of Zarkan troops descended. Their sleek black ships entered Earth's atmosphere, roaring like monsters from the sky. They landed in a major human city, expecting fear, panic, and surrender. But something was strange. The streets were quiet, too quiet. Xeltor watched through his screens as his soldiers marched forward. Their armor gleamed under the sun. They moved through empty roads, scanning for any sign of resistance. But there were no human soldiers waiting for them. No tanks, no fighter jets, just an eerie silence. "This is too easy," one of the Zarkan officers said. And then it happened. An explosion. Sudden, powerful, and deadly. A hidden bomb beneath the ground. It tore through the first wave of alien soldiers. Smoke filled the air. Before the Zarkans could react, gunfire erupted from the rooftops. Humans, hidden and waiting, fired down at the invaders with deadly precision. The alien commander's eyes widened. "What is this?" "They're fighting back." The soldiers tried to return fire, but something was wrong. Their advanced weapons flickered. Some refused to shoot. Their targeting systems glitched. Xeltor clenched his fists. "This is not possible. Their technology is primitive." The humans fought differently than any enemy the Zarkans had faced before. They didn't stand in open battlefields like other species. They used the shadows. They used surprise. They fought with intelligence, not brute strength. More explosions erupted across the city. Vehicles flipped. Buildings collapsed. The aliens were not conquering a weak planet. They had walked into a trap. The communication systems inside the command ship crackled. A deep, calm voice spoke in the Zarkan language. "Welcome to Earth." Xeltor felt something new, something he had never felt before. Doubt. The city burned, but the humans did not run. They did not beg for mercy. They fought like ghosts, silent, deadly, and unseen. Commander Xeltor slammed his fist against the command table. The battle was supposed to be over in minutes, yet his forces were struggling. His soldiers, the finest in the Zarkan Empire, were trapped in a war they did not understand. Through the ship's large viewing screen, Xeltor watched the chaos unfold. His soldiers moved through the city streets, but every step was dangerous. Human snipers hid in the ruins, picking them off one by one. Explosions ripped through Zarkan formations, splitting squads and causing confusion. "Why are they not surrendering?" one of his officers growled. Xeltor narrowed his eyes. "Because they do not fear us." It made no sense. Every species feared the Zarkan Empire. Every planet surrendered within hours. But Earth was different. The battle turns. On the ground, Captain Vakna, one of Xeltor's best commanders, led a squad of heavily armed Zarkan warriors through a narrow street. Smoke filled the air. The bodies of fallen humans and aliens lay scattered. "Keep moving," Vakna ordered. "We take control of the central district and break their resistance." The squad advanced, their armored boots crushing the debris beneath them. Their sensors scanned for movement, but the humans were invisible. Then, crack! A single shot rang out. Vakna felt his body jerk backward. His energy shield flickered and died. Another shot. This time, it hit the soldier next to him. The Zarkan warrior collapsed, his armor pierced. "Sniper!" someone shouted. The squad scattered for cover, but the attack didn't stop. More explosions, more gunfire. Humans appeared from the shadows, striking fast before disappearing again. The Zarkans were used to direct battles. This was not a battle. This was a hunt. Vakna growled. "Burn the city." The plan fails. From the command ship, Zeltor heard Vakna's order. He smirked. Fire was always the answer. If the humans wanted to hide, they would burn with their cities. "Activate the incineration weapons," he ordered. The warships above Earth positioned themselves. A deep humming sound filled the air as the Zarkan fire cannons prepared to unleash destruction. But then, silence. The cannons did not fire. The screens flickered. The ship's lights dimmed. A warning appeared in front of Zeltor. "Error. Weapons systems disability." Zeltor's heart pounded. What? His officers scrambled at their consoles. "Commander, something is blocking our weapons." "Impossible." Zeltor roared. Who could do this? The command ship's radio crackled again. The same calm, human voice spoke. "We told you, Commander." Zeltor clenched his fists. "Welcome to Earth." Commander Zeltor stared at the glowing red warning on his screen. "Error. Weapons systems disability." His mind refused to accept it. Zarkan technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. No species had ever been able to disable it. And yet, here on this so-called primitive planet, something was shutting them down. "Status report." Zeltor barked. An officer frantically tapped at his console. "Commander, we are experiencing system failures across the fleet. Our weapons are offline. Our shields are flickering. Even our communication signals are being jammed." "How?" Zeltor growled. "How are they doing this?" The officer hesitated before answering. We don't know." Zeltor's claws dug into the armrest of his command chair. This was not war. This was something else. The soldier's nightmare. On the ground, Captain Vakna and his troops took cover inside a ruined building. The battle had turned into a nightmare. Their rifles refused to fire. Their armor's energy shields flickered and died. The once powerful Zarkan warriors were suddenly weak and vulnerable. A soldier next to Vakna pressed his communicator. "Command, we need extraction. We're losing men." Silence. "Command, do you read me?" Only static answered him. The Zarkans had always relied on their advanced technology to win battles. Now, without it, they were no stronger than the humans. No, they were weaker. The humans knew the terrain. They had planned for this. Vakna clenched his teeth. "We need to regroup. Fall back." A sudden explosion cut him off. The building shook. Dust and debris rained down. Through the smoke, human soldiers moved like shadows, their weapons working perfectly while the Zarkan's technology failed. Vakna had never felt fear before, but now, as he watched his warriors fall one by one, he understood something terrible. They had underestimated Earth. Zeltor's growing fear. Back on the command ship, Zeltor struggled to maintain control. His fleet, his mighty fleet, was crippled. His forces on the ground were being slaughtered. "Send a distress signal to the Empire," he ordered. An officer shook his head. "We can't. Our long-range communications are down. We are completely cut off." Zeltor's heart pounded. This was supposed to be an easy invasion. Now his army was trapped. His fleet was helpless. And then the radio crackled to life again. The human voice returned. Calm. Confident. "You thought we were weak." Zeltor clenched his fists. "You thought your technology made you superior." The lights flickered inside the command ship. Systems continued to shut down. "But we are not like the others you have conquered." Zeltor's breathing grew heavy. "We are humans." A pause. Then the final words. And on Earth, we fight to win. The transmission cut. Zeltor's blood ran cold. For the first time in his life, he realized something. The Zarkans were not the hunters. They were the prey. Commander Zeltor stood frozen, his mind racing. His fleet was crippled. His soldiers were dying. His technology, his greatest weapon, was failing. How? How was this happening? He turned to his officers. Tell me you have restored the weapons. The lead engineer's voice trembled. Commander, we are locked out of our own systems. Something, or someone, is inside our network. Zeltor's claws dug into the command table. That is impossible. No species has ever. But he stopped himself. He already knew the answer. The humans. They had done this. The ghost in the machine. On the ground, Captain Vakna and his remaining warriors tried to regroup. They had no working weapons, no communications. Their scanners were blind. And worst of all, they were being hunted. The humans moved through the city like ghosts. They never attacked head-on. They struck from the shadows, setting traps, hacking Zarkan armor, using simple but effective weapons that did not rely on energy systems. Vakna pressed a button on his wrist communicator, trying to scan for enemy locations. Access DNID. His eyes widened. Our systems. One of his soldiers gasped. They control our systems. Vakna gritted his teeth. No, they cannot. Humans are primitives. Another soldier screamed. A hidden wire trap had snapped around his leg, pulling him into the darkness. His cries were cut short. The remaining soldiers backed into a corner. Their fear was rising. And then, a voice spoke from their helmets. A human voice. You thought we would fight your way, it whispered. You were wrong. Vakna's blood ran cold. The ultimate weapon. Back on the command ship, Zeltor watched in horror as more of his ships powered down. His officers desperately tried to regain control, but the system screens all showed the same message. Well, COM to Earth. We have to retreat, an officer whispered. Zeltor's claws tightened. We do not retreat. We are the Zarkan Empire. The officer shook his head. Not today, Commander. Zeltor growled, but deep inside, he felt something unfamiliar, something he had never felt in his entire military career. Helplessness. The humans had no massive warships, no energy shields, no advanced battle fleets, but they had something far deadlier. They had control, not just of the battlefield, but of the entire war. The message to the Empire. Desperate, Zeltor gave his final command. Send a message to the Empire. Warn them. The officer hesitated, then pressed a button. The message was sent. A final distress call. A warning. But it would never reach its destination. Because somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Zarkan communication relays flickered, then died. Their final hope erased. Zeltor gripped the table as realization set in. The invasion was over. Not because the humans had stronger weapons, not because they had bigger armies, because they never fought to win. They fought to make sure no one would ever attack Earth again. And as the last of his ships powered down, Zeltor finally understood. Earth was not weak. Earth was the most dangerous planet in the universe. Commander Zeltor's mind raced. His fleet was paralyzed. His soldiers were being hunted. His communications were dead. This was no ordinary war. This was annihilation. His officers looked at him with fear in their eyes. For the first time in Zarkan history, they did not know what to do. Zeltor slammed his fist against the console. There must be a way out. We are the Zarkan Empire. But his words felt empty. Because deep down, he knew the truth. They had walked into a trap that had been waiting for them from the very beginning. The last stand. On the ground, Captain Vakna and his remaining soldiers ran through the burning city. Every shadow was a threat. Every step could be their last. Their energy weapons were useless. Their armor no longer protected them. They were not warriors anymore. They were prey. Vakna turned a corner and froze. A lone human stood before him, holding a simple rifle. No armor, no shields, just a man standing in their way. Vakna grinned. Finally, an easy kill. He charged forward. Bang! The bullet struck his shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. He roared in pain. The wound was small, but the shock of it was overwhelming. For the first time in his life, he had been hit. The fear of death. Vakna's soldiers hesitated. They had never fought like this. They had never felt pain like this. The human stepped closer. Calm. Fearless. "Do you understand now?" the human asked. His voice was quiet, almost mocking. Vakna gasped, clutching his wound. "You thought we were weak," the human continued. "Because we don't have fleets. Because we don't have energy weapons." The man knelt beside him. His eyes were cold. "But we have something you don't." Vakna's breath quickened. "We have suffered. We have struggled. We have fought wars among ourselves for thousands of years. We don't need shields. We don't need lasers." The human leaned in close and whispered, "We just need to know where to shoot." And then, darkness. The final blow. Back on the command ship, Xeltor's claws dug into his palms. He had to do something. Anything. Then, his screens flickered. A new message appeared. A human face stared back at him. A woman. Calm. Smiling. "Commander Xeltor," she said, "I assume you now understand your mistake." Xeltor's throat tightened. Who are you?" "I am General Catherine Reeves, Earth Defense Network," she replied. "And you, Commander, are finished." The ship's alarms blared. Self-destruct activated. Xeltor's heart stopped. His own ships, his own fleet, were turning against him. His officers screamed. They scrambled at their consoles, but it was no use. "We are locked out," one of them shouted. "They control everything." Xeltor stared at the screen, at the human woman who had just destroyed his empire without ever firing a shot. "You should never have come here," she said. Then the screen went dark. The ship trembled. The countdown began. Xeltor closed his eyes. This was Earth's true power. Not weapons, not technology, but the ability to make sure their enemies never left alive. Commander Xeltor's mind screamed for a solution. His ships were shutting down. His soldiers were being wiped out. And now, his own fleet's self-destruct sequence was activated. He had lost, but he was not ready to die. "Shut it down," he roared. "Override the system." His officers worked frantically, their claws tapping against dead consoles. The screens only displayed one message. "Welcome to Earth." Xeltor's breathing grew heavy. The humans had not just beaten them. They had taken control. He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare the escape pods. We need to abandon ship." The officer hesitated. "Commander, the pods are locked." Xeltor's blood ran cold. "What? They have locked us inside. Nowhere to run." Xeltor felt the ship tremble. The self-destruct countdown continued. He turned back to the screen. "Humans," he growled. "You think this is over? The Zarkan Empire will come for you." The screen flickered. General Catherine Reeves appeared once more. Calm. Unbothered. "No, Commander," she said. "They won't." Xeltor's fists clenched. "You think one battle will stop us? We have thousands of ships. You may have won today, but the Empire will send more fleets, more armies." The human general only smiled. "Oh, we know." She leaned forward. "That's why we've already sent them a message." Xeltor's breath caught in his throat. A message of terror. Across the vast reaches of space, deep in the Zarkan homeworld, the Emperor and his war council sat in their grand chamber. Suddenly, the main communication screen blinked on. It was Commander Xeltor. But something was wrong. He looked broken. His eyes were wide with terror, his face pale, his breathing heavy. "Do not come to Earth," he whispered. "Do not send more fleets. Do not." Then, suddenly, he screamed, a horrifying, gut-wrenching sound of pure fear. His image flickered, and then, static. The War Council stared in stunned silence. The chamber was deathly quiet. For the first time in history, a Zarkan fleet had been completely erased, and no one knew how. A final goodbye. Back on the command ship, Xeltor's eyes burned with rage. What did you do?" General Reeves tilted her head. "We let them see your last moments." Xeltor's hand shook. "You monsters." The human only smiled. "You called us weak." The ship trembled again. The countdown reached its final seconds. "Goodbye, Commander," she said. The screen went black. And then, boom. The flagship exploded, taking the entire Zarkan fleet with it. A fiery storm of destruction filled Earth's orbit. Xeltor's name would never be spoken again, and the Zarkan Empire would never dare attack Earth. Because they had finally learned the truth. Earth was not weak. Earth was a graveyard for invaders. The skies above Earth burned with the wreckage of the Zarkan fleet. Fire and metal rained down, breaking apart as they entered the atmosphere. The battle was over. Humanity had won. But victory was not enough. They needed to make sure no one would ever try this again. The message sent across the stars. Deep within Earth's hidden command center, General Catherine Reeves stood before a massive communication screen. Around her, Earth's top military leaders watched in silence. A single transmission was being sent, not just to the Zarkan Empire, but to every major power in the galaxy. It was simple. It showed the final moments of Commander Xeltor, his desperate screams, his fleet shutting down, the terror in his eyes as he realized he had been outmatched, not by superior weapons, but by a species that refused to lose. Then the screen cut to General Reeves. She spoke only one sentence. "Earth is not a prize to be won. It is a death sentence." And with that, the message ended. The galaxy reacts. On distant worlds, alien leaders watched in stunned silence. The mighty Zarkan Empire, known for its brutal conquests, had been eradicated, not just beaten, but humiliated, trapped, hunted, destroyed. And worst of all, the humans had barely even tried. A council of warlords from the Dralvan Dominion sat in a dark chamber, their reptilian eyes locked on the flickering screen. One of them hissed, "We had plans to invade Earth next." Another shook his head. Not anymore. Across the galaxy, plans of invasion were silently erased. Maps were changed. Strategies abandoned. Earth was now surrounded by an invisible shield. Fear. The aftermath. Back on Earth, the ruins of battle were being cleared. The people had survived yet another threat. A soldier looked up at the burning wreckage in the sky. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" General Reeves watched the last of the debris burn up. She shook her head. "No," she said, "not after today." Because today, the galaxy had learned a lesson. Humans were not the strongest. They did not have the best technology. They did not have the largest armies. But they had something far more terrifying. They had the will to win at any cost. And now, every empire in the stars knew the truth. Earth was not weak. Earth was untouchable.